You are watching the video version of the Marketing Should Be Fun podcast. We are so glad that you are here. If you prefer to listen to podcasts, you can find the Marketing Should Be Fun show on any of your favorite podcast platforms, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else. But most of all, we're so glad you're here, and I hope that you enjoy today's conversation. Well, welcome back to another episode of Marketing Should Be Fun. My name's Austin Savage. I'm the founder of Savage Content Collective, and I am not here with Kelsey today, but I am here with my Chief Strategy Officer, Kristi Zobrist. Kristi, it is so good to have you here on the podcast again.
Again? Is this my third time?
I think it's number 2. And if I'm forgetting a third one, I feel very ashamed right now.
Okay, so, second time. They're just so much fun that it felt like my third time.
It felt like, yeah, your third time. The last time we did an episode on your CTA triangle. And so we went through like your different levels of calls to actions.
Yes.
Which was super helpful. After that last episode that you were on the show for, I actually I had multiple people reach out to me and say, hey, I loved this episode with Kristi. They were like, we would love to hear her on the show more. So that was pretty fun. I feel like this is like a long awaited episode for many of our listeners.
I don't know about that, but I think that one had a quick win for people. So that's probably why they liked it.
Yes, it did. Hopefully we have some more of those today. You're one of my favorite things about like your approach to marketing is like you're very like tool driven and very like tactic driven. So like you have a long history of coaching in general. And so I kind of just love the way that you're like, you kind of develop these frameworks and you like have these little like buckets of knowledge that you're like, ooh, let me go grab this document that I have for this thing and you're like, oh, one time I put together this whole like guide on how to do that. And you just have all these little like secret knowledge compartments in your
I have frameworks and I'm very visual, so I like metaphors too. Anything that I can get to picture something so that it becomes clearer to me helps me remember where I'm going in marketing and what I'm doing.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm excited to share some more of those today because I'm sure you have some more of those to pull out of the old little knowledge bank in there. So Kristi, you might remember from last time, but at the beginning of every episode of Marketing Should Be Fun, we have a little segment that we just do a little this or that. And it's, where we kind of battle it out on our perspectives. I will say I have zero opinion on this question that I'm about to ask you about, but I might recontextualize it for myself to give my own answer. But our listeners don't know, but I know that you are a huge University of Alabama sports fan.
Yes.
Literally yesterday you were wearing an Alabama hat, an Alabama shirt. You have all the jerseys. You go to Alabama like 17 times a year. You are a big fan.
Yes, specifically football, but I like a lot of the sports.
Of course. Yeah, you I feel like you half care about basketball when it's basketball season.
Yes, I do.
But yes, big football fan. So I am curious, my this or that for today is you've been to a lot of Alabama games, and I know that you are a big fan of that. But if you could only choose one of these options to go to for the rest of your life, would you rather only be able to go to Alabama home games and have that experience, or would you rather always be able to go to national championship games when Alabama is in that national championship?
Oh, so easy. Alabama home games.
Yes?
Yes,
oh
Alabama home games. There's nothing like going to an SEC home game. The atmosphere, especially a home game at night.
Okay.
The lights at night, the sounds, the people, like it is so fun. It could even be against nobody and we are winning by tons. It is still like the game is a close game, and the traditions that are happening in between each, like third down, fourth quarter, we're singing Dixieland Delight, like everything that is happening in between it's nothing like it.
That's so crazy. Did you say you're singing Dixieland Delight? Is that what it's called?
Dixieland Delight, fourth quarter.
I don't even know what that is.
I mean, It's just so much fun.
Oh my goodness.
And
How did
it's
you,
coming.
was it just from your family that you became an Alabama sports fan, or like
Yeah,
how did that
my
start?
dad is from Alabama. So he grew up in Alabama, has always been an Alabama fan. And then
Got
he
it.
moved here in high school. And then obviously we all had to become Alabama fans.
Of course. Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, that was an easy this or that.
Yeah, that was super easy.
Yeah.
I also don't know how often Alabama has been to a national championship. So
17 times.
oh my gosh. Wow. So that's quite frequent. You're missing out on a lot of
Or is it
national
18
championship.
now? It might be 18 now. See, we have shirts that say the numbers.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking that my son had the 17 shirt on, but it might be 18. We just might not have the 18.
Yeah. I will say the playoffs postseason of college football doesn't make as much sense to me as like a college basketball fan. You know, it's like the drastic difference of, oh, we have this 68 team tournament in comparison to, oh, we pick 4 teams at the end of the year and they just play 2 games.
Well, it's bigger now. There's 12 teams.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. Did that start this year?
12 teams now. So
hey,
they're figuring it out.
It's a little better.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like there's as much stakes if there's no like lead up to. You obviously have the whole season, but it's like, give me a tournament, give me something.
I know. The tournament is fun.
It is so fun. I don't really have a college football team that I like, but if I were to ask myself the same question about the Bears, if I could only go to Chicago Bears home games or go see the Bears when they're in the Super Bowl, I think that I would say Super Bowl because it would be very fun. And it probably will only happen once in my lifetime. And it would be fun to not have to pay $7 million to go see them. And I would be okay if I didn't go to another home game. So
do the Bears have different things that happen at each game that you're like, this is expected to happen at this quarter, this is going to happen at this time?
I've only been to like 3 home games. So yes, but it's not like as intense as what it sounds like the Alabama kind of culture is. And I feel so ashamed saying this, but I've only been to 2 NFL stadiums, and it's Soldier Field and Lambeau Field, which is where the Packers play. And the experience at Lambeau Field was so much better than the experience at Soldier Field. And yes, it's so crazy, but it's like a true like dome almost, like not covered, but like it's so kind of enclosed in on itself. I have never been somewhere as loud as Lambeau Field was. And it just felt like you could feel the cheering like in your chest. Like it felt like your ears were about to burst. Yes. It was like, this is amazing. And in Soldier Field, at least their current stadium, it's just so open air, like that all the sound kind of just like goes up and out. And so it's not really like you just hear the people around you more than the whole stadium. So
I went to a Wisconsin game, Alabama at Wisconsin, and they have the famous jump around, and they're like, the whole stadium shakes. And we were like looking forward to feeling this jump around. Nothing compared to an SEC game. Nothing.
Like, oh my goodness.
We feel that jumping around in the first quarter within like seconds. Yes. So it was just like crazy the differences in stadium.
That really is. That's super interesting. Okay. We can't talk about football the whole time, but we could, but we won't. Today we wanted to talk about, we were kind of brainstorming, some topics this week, and the two of us wanted to chat through like long-term thinking in your marketing versus short-term thinking in your marketing. And I feel like this is a challenge, I guess, that we often encounter with clients. And I know I've kind of like navigated it with clients since the early days of our agency, and I've seen you navigate kind of the same thing with clients as well. Is like clients will come to us with 2 goals, right? Like in the short term, it's like, hey, I need to sell my product. I need to get donations. I need to sell my service. Whatever it is, it's like I need quick wins. But then on the other hand, it's like I need to build a respected brand. I need to, be a voice that people trust. And I need to grow my audience and expand that audience. And sometimes it can kind of feel like those 2 goals like compete with each other. It's like, if I want to be a respected voice, it can kind of feel like I really need to emphasize the free sort of value that I'm giving. And it can be hard then to like bring in the paid offers that I'm promoting, or the specific actions that people can take. But then, and for some people, it's the exact opposite. They're like, I am fully comfortable promoting kind of like these actions that I need people to take. But it's kind of hard for me to then think in this lens of, how am I engaging my audience? How am I creating opportunities for growth in that audience? And so I have some questions for you on that topic specifically, but just some initial thoughts. Like, how do you see that kind of tension play out for clients that you support?
Well, I think whenever I'm looking at someone's website, Instagram, their emails, the first thing, I'm sure you see it too, is that people are pushing their products, buy my product, buy my product. Yeah. And that's usually the first thing that I say needs to change, because we're just blasting them with buy my product. And do we even know you yet? And I think that trust has to be built, and people as small business owners, or big business owners too, don't quite understand. You said that they want to become this trusted brand, but why? Well, it's actually because people need to trust you in order to buy something. You want to be a respectable brand so that people continue to buy something from you and they have repeat sales, or they want to donate to you. Someone doesn't just donate their hard-earned money to an organization that they know nothing about. So you have to become this brand that puts out what you do so that people understand and will trust you to give them your money.
Mm-hmm. Do you often see kind of like that shift away from, hey, there's actually some value in like not pushing your product as hard as you have been? Like, is that a hard thing for people to kind of accept or kind of buy into? Or do you feel like owners typically are pretty like, oh, I totally see that. Like let's go in that direction.
Yeah, it's not something that, if without explanation, is really bought into. I think it takes the explanation. And I think the stat that gets people, and I've heard you say it too, is that it takes people now, I used to say 15 to 17 times of touch points for people to buy from you. It is, what is it now? I think
I don't know the exact, probably. But I used to say 7 and now I say above 50. So it's like, but we're just like, it takes a lot of interactions. Yeah.
It takes a ton. I think we had a client just prove that to us. They had a client come to their website, and it took them 21 more times for them to come to that website. We saw that stat on their back end before they bought the product. And so it's being proved in data that people need to come and visit multiple times. And that's not even how many times that client saw them on Instagram or saw them in email. So who knows how many touch points. But if we can break it down for a business, usually if we can start talking about, well, what does this look like in real life compared to an online life? I don't know if we talked about it last time. We were trying to remember the grocery store analogy. Would you walk up to someone in a grocery store and be like, buy my product? Probably not. And so why would we do that online? Why would we just put out online, buy my product? When I start explaining it that way, then business owners can really quickly start to understand and change their mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that example that you brought up for one of our clients, because it was so fascinating. Like the product in reference was like a few $100s, I think it was. And so like, it wasn't, a simple kind of quick purchase for your average person, but it was so interesting to just see, like, that was the only page they were going to on the website. Like, it was just like, they saw it, they left, they came back, they were looking at it, they're like, they left. And like, you could just see like they wanted it, but they just like weren't ready until, the 20th, 21st time, or, whatever. And I mean, just such a good example of, even if it's not one specific product that people are, coming back to, but just of this, like, oh, I'm getting value from you. I'm curious about what you do. I like this, thing that you offer. And it's just this constant kind of like coming back before you've come to that point where you're like, yes, now's the time to take that next step.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we also have to think about what channel we are using and what kind of audience is on that channel. Are we on our website where we're maybe getting a little bit warmer traffic because people have seen us somewhere? Are we on Instagram where that is technically pretty cold traffic coming our way a lot of times if they're on your
Yeah.
feed. Or are they on our email list where they're a lot warmer? Where are we? Who are we talking to? Because if we're in the grocery store on Instagram, then we probably shouldn't just be saying buy our product all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're on email and these are people who have subscribed to our email list, then we can say a little more often, buy my product, buy my product, because you've earned the trust of them. So I think the channel matters a lot too, depending on where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I respect most as well about your approach to marketing is kind of that dichotomy that I presented earlier of that, long-term thinking versus short-term thinking, and how it can often feel like they're combating each other and like working against each other. I feel like you do a really good job of taking those two things and like making them like talk to each other and like really integrating them into the same strategy of shifting from like, we're not just selling your product. We are taking a longer term approach, but we're going to kind of do both at the same time. Like, we want to be making it really, really clear the next steps that people can take. And at the same time, we want to be building trust. We want to, help people understand who we are, why they should care, all of those things. If I remember correctly, you have a little framework, a little tool, 5 steps to building trust. And I would love if you could walk us through that.
Yeah, I think there are 5 things you should have in your content. And I think this goes across the board. And it's not every day, it's not all the time, but it's, if you look at your content on Instagram, if you look at your content on LinkedIn and email and your blog, do you have this content across the board that someone can easily assess? So do you have who you help? Are you really clear on who your audience is? Because if you're not calling me out to say, I help you, I help moms with kids, if you're not calling out who that person is, then I don't know to pay attention. The second one is, why are you qualified? This one, a lot of people don't want to put in, but why should I listen to you? Why are you someone? And this doesn't have to be that I have a PhD in robotic engineering. This is just, who are you and why do you care about this? Why have you been in this? How long have you been doing this? Like, why do you care about the cause? Maybe you have a story that the cause means something to you, but like, why should I care about you?
Yeah. Why are people hesitant to include that in their content?
I think because people don't want to talk about themselves. Too often people just want to push out the product or the cause or whatever it is, and they just don't want to talk about themselves. They want to stay behind the scenes. And so I think building trust, though, you want to buy from a person. We don't want to buy from a logo. And a lot of times people are putting logos on things and not necessarily, they're saying maybe the company initials are just MZ and they're like, hey, buy from this. And who wants to buy from initials MZ? I don't know who that is or why I should buy from them. But if you put the name behind it, Austin, okay, Austin has some reason behind it. And maybe it's a nonprofit and Austin has an experience with that cause. I now trust that cause a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen that so much, even in like on the for-profit side and the nonprofit side, but especially as people like invest a lot into their brand too. Like, I think that's another like part of the equation that they're like, oh, this is this like entity that like, oh, people can trust. And it's like, that is true. Like, you've built this brand that like has recognition, has professionalism, has weight and authority, but also like, that's not really what's connecting like people's hearts to what you do. Like, that might give them trust in that next step. And that's part of this just overall kind of like brand that we're building. But when we can, instead of like hiding ourselves or hiding the people in our company or our organization, from being kind of like the leaders and the brand builders, like we can kind of shift that around and like lead with our people, lead with our personality, lead with ourselves. And that creates so much opportunity to then lead people to that, like, here's where we're going, and here's what we've built, why you should trust us. Kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Number 3 is, what do you sell? This one seems really obvious because you think people know what you sell, but too many times people do not describe it in detail. Maybe it's a service and you don't give all the bullet points of how you give that service. Or maybe you're just saying donate, but you really don't give what exactly the donation is going for. You just say donate to human trafficking. Well, what does that actually mean? What are you going to support? So what do you sell is a huge, I should be able to come to your Instagram, look at your website and be able to see that right away. The fourth one is what transformation will they have? And this one trips people up, I think, a lot because they're like, my product doesn't give someone a transformation or donating doesn't give someone a transformation. But I think everything really does. Even if you're selling a bracelet, there's a transformation happening. Someone is feeling something after they're done buying that bracelet. Someone has an emotional reaction after they donate. There's always a transformation happening, and you want to show that people are having that transformation and what they will feel and what happens after they make that next step. And I think that's missing all the time when I look at people's Instagrams, when I look at people's websites, that transformation and what will happen after is missing.
Yeah. Why does that make a difference in content? Like we talk a lot, of just creating value, right, in the content that you're providing. And I know here in the podcast, like we've talked a lot about education. We've talked a lot about inspiration. We've talked a lot about, the storytelling and, all of those things. And I think when we're kind of thinking in this way, like being able to clearly communicate what we offer and the transformation it'll make, what difference does it make to be able to paint that picture of the transformation?
Yeah, I actually think people are buying the transformation. People want to buy. I mean, the easiest way is showing like weight loss. People want to buy that next self. People want to, they don't necessarily want to buy the thing that is causing the weight loss. People don't want to buy the tool that is getting them there. They want to buy the after of themselves, or they want to buy, you feel good after you've donated and you want that cause to progress. So like you want to buy that thing. You're donating because you want that cause to progress. That's actually what you're buying. That's what you're donating to. Yeah. You're not doing the thing. You don't necessarily care how the thing gets you there. You want it to be easy. You want it to have quality. There are things you want, but you don't necessarily care how that happens. You want the thing after. And so we're buying that after. And so why are we not putting that after all the time on our website, on our social media?
Right. We just did that with one of our clients as well. We have a client that supports parents who have kids with dyslexia. And that was an interesting kind of conversation like early on in our partnership for that brand, because it is super easy just in that space to really lean into like the science kind of it all of like, how does the brain work? Here's like, how can we best teach, children with dyslexia? Like what are all the kind of like detailed information kind of things that we can share? And instead we really kind of stripped back, and it's like, actually like parents aren't looking exactly to like understand every single aspect of dyslexia in most cases. Like they're looking to solve the overwhelm. They're looking to solve the kind of like just uncertainty on like, how to support during homework time, and, leaning into that created a lot of content opportunities. Right.
Well. And if you can give examples like that, they want to solve the homework time, the fighting time. Exactly. If you can give the examples of what is it that person is feeling that they want to move on from, that's what you're selling. And I think a lot of people don't go that granular to it. They just stay above and sell, here's my offer. And so if we can get down to what is actually the transformation that you're going to have from this to this, then that makes a huge difference in your content.
Yeah. What's the last one?
The last one is a call to action. I love my call to actions.
Heck yeah.
And so if you don't have a call to action somewhere, what do I do next? What if I don't go to your Instagram, if I don't go to a blog and I know what to do next, then I can't do anything. If it takes more than 1 to 2 clicks to get somewhere, I'm not going to make the next step with you. Maybe the next step isn't purchase. Maybe it's just finding out more information. Maybe it's setting up a call. Maybe it is to purchase, but have that next step so clear. So those are the 5 things that I think you need to have to earn trust.
I told you, you have helpful frameworks, helpful tools.
Yes.
Just to go back through those 5 things. So the first one was audience, like who are you talking to? Who are you selling to? Second one was authority, like why should they trust you? Why does your voice matter? I love that you clarified, like it's not just, hey, I've been doing this for 32 years and I have these education credentials, but it's like I care about this. I have a story about this. Like that's all part of authority. Third thing was, what do you sell? Making that, just that offer, the products, the opportunities, for people to take that next step very, very clear. Giving clarity on the transformation, making sure that that is a core part of how you're talking about that product or offer. And then having a clear next step or a call to action. What are people supposed to do as they move forward? That's such a good list.
Yes. 5 things.
So Kristi, before we close, talk for a second to that owner, that leader who is kind of just navigating like the decisions and how they want to talk about their brand and just trying to make sense of like all of kind of the opportunities for how to talk about it. And I kind of just come back again to that tension of like, they really want to push their product and, they want to go through this list, right? They want to talk to the right person. They want to, make sure that they're an authoritative voice. They want to give clarity on like, here's that call to action. Here's what I sell and, why it will make a difference, but at the same time, right. They want to kind of, strip back some of that and still show like their personality and show kind of like their voice, the everyday, kind of just the opportunities for kind of like that top of the funnel content as well. So talk to the leader for a second who's just trying to balance both of those things and, kind of develop a content strategy that addresses, everything that they need to build that brand.
Well, first, it's take a breath because a lot of times these business owners are trying to include all of these things at once and they're a little frazzled and it's feeling like, well, you just named 5 things and I'm trying to sell a product and how do I step back? How do I do this? And first it's just take a breath because this all doesn't happen at once and that's okay. Business is a little long-term. Things 100%. Don't happen immediately. And so if you don't have these 5 things in your content, if you're trying to change things up, give it a minute. And to make a plan, batch your content a little bit. Start looking at things. How can I start adding in some authority here? How can I start adding in what I sell? And make a little bit of a plan monthly. Maybe 1 month you start adding in some authority and what I sell. And then maybe the next month you hit another 2 points. Don't try to add everything in at once because when we as business owners try to do everything at once, we actually achieve almost nothing at all.
Yes.
And so I think that making a plan to go after 1 or 2 points in our content will make a big difference. Also, remember that trust is compounded. And at this point, you already have some trust built. And so it's not that you're starting from nothing. You already have some trust built. And so being able to go slowly like that will start compounding some more trust each time. You won't do it wrong. It's now, how can we just keep adding these things in? And so I don't want anyone to look back and say, I've done this all wrong. I don't have any trust. Yes. You have trust until now. Now we just keep compounding more and more. I think these points just help us do it a little faster.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you brought up too, just like how many touches it takes, with a brand before they take that next step. Obviously, we gave the example with one of our clients, but it just is, such a good reminder of like when it comes to content, I think there is that pressure of like, I have to post the perfect thing and it's going to all of a sudden create, so much opportunity in my business, or like everybody's going to take this next step because they saw this specific post that checked all 5 of those, boxes. But that's great insight, great wisdom, and a great reminder of like, no, it is like, this is something that we want some quick wins from, but like we're doing this for months at a time, for years at a time. And that is, we're creating kind of this snowball of momentum by being consistent in occasionally addressing kind of each of these, facets of building trust. So I love that insight. Well, Kristi, it was so good to have you again on the podcast. I can't wait for the next time.
It was so good to be here. And next time I can for sure say 3 and be correct.
I know. Honestly, this whole episode I've been thinking, I'm like, is there a 3rd? I'm like, it's like nagging at me. I need to go look, but oh my goodness. All right. For all of our listeners, thank you so much for being here. And we will see you right back here on the next episode of Marketing Should Be Fun.